to a homeless person because orders go bad or because the food sat too long. They can't sell it. So they throw it away. And then you've got a homeless person who's digging through the garbage to get to that, and the cops are being called to them.
Yeah,
so,
the bad part is they get escorted off the property, or they, I will say this, that a lot of times I've seen where the cops don't even want to arrest them because, I hate to say it, they're, in between breaks, doing broadcasting, I managed a chain of professional camera stores for a while. And it was downtown Tacoma, and we had a war vet from Vietnam. He would walk around summer, winter, barefooted, okay? And sometimes he was coherent, sometimes he wasn't. But you know what? The laws are so funny that to get him into a hospital for help, it's almost impossible. And I remember... Yeah. One time, he was going through a garbage in front of our business, the city garbage cans. And one of the other businesses close by evidently called the police on him. The police were actually going to arrest him till they noticed that he, in his pants. Mm-hmm. And the police officers, said, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to arrest him. I'd done it once before. And, they couldn't get the smell out of my patrol car afterwards. So, and I got out there and I said, this guy needs to go to the hospital. I mean, here it is. Actually, it was snow on the sidewalks yet. And he's walking up and down the street. We're talking about one end of downtown Tacoma to the other. So it's probably about maybe 4 miles long. And then he would turn around.
Deep was the snow?
Yeah, the snow at that point probably was only a couple inches. But he's walking barefooted. So he'd go down one side of the street, get down by the federal office, courthouse, turn around and walk back all the way up on the other side. That's what he did all day long. And he survived by eating, garbage out of the garbage cans. I finally started going, there was a teriyaki place down at the end of the block. He was so much pride, if you gave it to him, he wouldn't take it. So I would go and buy a teriyaki, a couple times a week. I saw him coming, I know his routine, so I knew when he was walking by. I would then take it, out of the location, go set it on top of the trash can, which was a metal top to it, and then he would take it and he would eat it. And, I just felt bad because he wasn't getting the help he needed. He needed to be either in the VA hospital. He needed help, because something... He was disconnected from society, and it's shocking.
Well, as you know yourself, and I'm not going to expel anything that you don't want known, but knowing you, the vets that came back from any of the wars, other than World War II, they were treated differently. But Vietnam War, the Korean War, the war in Saudi, all of our vets were treated with disgrace by our American citizens. They were treated like they were killers, and especially Vietnam vets were called numerous names for going off and serving in a war that was created by politics. Okay, I'm going to name it like it was.
It was political,
and yes, and that right there we should never have been there. We lost too many of our American brothers and sisters in that war for no reason. But the disgrace that they felt when they came back and the lack of the government's assistance for them once they were returning to society after serving their country honorably and doing what they were told to do, were now shoved to the side and treated very poorly. I mean, very, very poorly.
Oh, yeah. I look at how many of them suffered from Agent Orange. I still have a rash that will never go away. And, So
is it okay to say that you're a Vietnam vet?
Yeah, I'm a Vietnam vet. I came back and I started out with a small rash, and then I ended up with a big rash. It comes and goes, but, going into the doctors and all that stuff for the years, they said, I picked it up over there. It's a fungus.
Right.
It'll never die. They gave me different type of medications that, it'll temporarily kill it. But you know what? As soon as you're out in the sun or you get stressed, and I use the word stress, all of a sudden you start getting this rash. And that was because of Agent Orange. And then all the other people, it took years, and the government kept saying, no, there was nothing with Agent Orange. How about the people that went home, and they've been in numerous of firefights and all this stuff. Psychologically, it affected them big time. Yeah. Because a lot of the troops, honestly, you talk to them when they get over there, they didn't even know why we were there. They didn't even know what we were really fighting for, because you know what? The Vietnamese didn't care. They really didn't care if we were there or not.
The PTSD hadn't really been fully established and known about what it was and the effects of what it was.
Not then, no.
Until our recent wars with the Saudi, But your company of men during your time period that went over there and fought in Vietnam and came back, you suffered mentally and physically. You and I have spoken about a very horrific event that happened right in front of you that altered your life for the rest of it. And that's the same way, like with the NDEs, it forever changed my life. So when you asked earlier, did it change anything? Yes, it did. It made me more. It's like something flipped on a switch for me to help my fellow man, especially the homeless, and especially the American vet. And it doesn't really just extend to the American vet. Let me say that because we've got plenty of allies and friends that are over in the UK and what have you. Any vet of any war, regardless, they should be treated with honor, and they should be treated with respect, not discarded and tossed aside. Because they were fighting in a war that was for the servitude of that country to have its independence or its freedom. So my hat goes off to all vets, worldwide, wherever they're at, as long as they're on the good side. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it flipped a switch inside of me that completely altered my determination to make a difference, to make something happen for these American vets, and the homeless especially, because there are just too many of them. And when I see all these programs on TV about helping, and again, I'm not knocking the people who have a desire to help the children in other countries and what have you. That's all well and good. But we have children here. We have American vets here. We have homeless here that need our help more so than somebody else's country. I say charity begins at home. That's how I look at it.
Well, I do. I look at all these vets, being it the Gulf or Vietnam that are still living, they're getting up in age, what they have gone through for the rest of their life. To get help, they have gotten lack of medical, they lack of, psychological and understanding. And a lot of them have suffered with either mental scars or physical pain ever since.
And as you know, probably yourself, because I'm sure you've kept in touch with some of your comrades that you were in war with, there probably was a number of them that committed suicide because when they came back to the United States, thinking they would be welcomed with open arms, they were called baby killer. They were called this, then this, and this by the, hippie generation. That, no insults to the hippies that are now no longer hippies, but they're tax-paying citizens now. But the thing at that time, though, they were misguided, and so therefore they were casting the awful names on our American vets that were returning home, who, like yourself, probably when you got the discharge order that you were going home, that probably sent a wave of emotions through you that I'm going to be returning to American soil. I'm going home to my family. I'm going home to my friends. And these people, other than yourself, I mean, there's plenty of others that have, gone on to live very successful lives, or some of them just normal lives, whatever. But some of them didn't. And some of them suffered so badly that they took their own lives. And so for me, that means we failed. We failed. They fell through the cracks of the system. Somebody should have helped them.
And it's still going on from the Gulf War.
Yeah.
They're still, every day, either that they're killing suicide, not just maybe themselves, they're killing their family, their wives, or all of a sudden they work at the post office for no reason at all. They have a flare up and they kill about 4 or 5 or 6 people, and then they're labeled as a murder. They don't understand.
Yes, exactly. Then they're heralded in the newspaper as a killer, as a bomber, as this. But let's go back to when they were normal people and they were sent over as young men or women overseas to fight in a war that we shouldn't be in, and then brought back here and said, okay, we turn you loose now. No help, no assistance, you're just going to make it on your own. Because as you know from your own experiences, government assistance really isn't there for the American vet.
No, there isn't.
And, I mean, you have to go through so much red tape just to get anything. And, you know, even if it's just a medal that you were promised that you were supposed to have. You know, I know my grandfather, he was a World War II Pearl Harbor veteran. And he served in 3 different major battles. He received a Bronze Star, the Courage Star, as well as the Purple Heart. And my uncle had to fight, I mean, for months and months and months with D.C. to get those medals sent to him. And they arrived just about a year before he passed.
Yeah, a lot of times.
He finally had them.
And a lot of times it's after somebody passes it happens.
Yeah. And then what good does that do then? Because that person died thinking nobody cared. So, I mean, I know we're getting completely off topic of what the show was about tonight, but I do feel like I want to say this to you. I know this for a fact because I have a lot of, you know, people that I know through my connections that are truckers who are actually ex-military. They're ex-Dutch. You know, they're vets. They're not ex. They're always going to be a vet of one war or another. So my hat goes off to all of you that are out there driving that truck tonight or tomorrow morning whenever you're listening to the show. My hat goes off to you, and I salute you, and I thank you for your service.
Yeah, and they thank you for thinking of them. Now, we only got like about 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes left. Honestly, a lot of people think, and a lot of scientists claim that when you die, it's like when you have a computer, right? All of a sudden, the hard drive crashes. That's the end of it. All your memory of that computer is lost. It's gone. It's history. Now, some scientists say that's the same way when we die. Everything that you have learned, everything you have experienced, and all that is gone. And they come back and say that the near-death experience is nothing more than your brain cells dying, that they come up and say, now they can actually say that they've been saying that your brain is still functioning, even up to almost an hour after you pass on.
Right.
And
the memory engrams are there, and the synapses of the brain. I've actually went toe to toe with some medical professionals on this that wanted to try to dispute what I felt, what I saw, when I gained. Well, one of those doctors, remember I told you earlier that I have dreams from people from the other side. They had lost their mother about a year before. And their mother came to me in a dream just before I was to meet with them and told me exactly what to say to them. And when I did, they were floored because there was no way I could have known that. None. And I said, so now tell me this. Did my synapses of my brain closing down and then restarting, which, by the way, I regained every bit of my functionality, although y'all said I wouldn't. I have the ability to keep learning, which you probably said I didn't have that ability either, and that all my memories would be gone, which they aren't. So you explain to me, how do I know something about your mother who came to me in a dream and told me something about you that I had no way of knowing? They couldn't answer me.
I bet they couldn't. Hey,
Right.
We're going to have to get you back on here maybe in about a month, and we'll continue on.
I'd love to.
Yeah, we're going to have to. So why don't you send me an email? Because, I'm at the age, I'm going on 68.
Right.
Sometimes I forget where I